Welcome back to PHAE'S PLACE, a podcast where dreamers have the liberty to dream. I'm your host, Phaedra, and I am so excited that we have this time to dream together. From award-winning projects on PBS like the Reconstruction America After the Civil War series to the Black Church, This Is Our Story, This Is Our Song series, today's guest has directed and produced films about and for the culture. She's educated, engaged, and enthusiastic about the art of storytelling. So expect insider insights, behind the scenes stories, and of course, tips for pursuing your dreams as we speak to the one and only Miss Stacey L. Holman. Thank you for stopping by PHAE'S PLACE.
Thank you so much, Phaedra, for having me. It's such a pleasure to reconnect with you on another
Yeah.
platform. I love it.
Woohoo! Kudos to Belmont for
Yes.
introducing us. So take us back to your 5-year-old self growing up in Shaker Heights, Ohio. What did that little girl dream of becoming?
That little girl was going to Zanesville, Ohio every summer to stay a week, maybe 2 weeks. It was like a week at her maternal grandparents'. And she was always so excited when her cousins would arrive because that would give her a chance to put on a skit or a play. And the family would tolerate it. So it's like I couldn't wait because I'm the youngest of 4. So my siblings was a 9, 11, and 7-year age gap. So really the summers were just me and my grandparents. And just that moment of just kind of that spark of creation and imagination, I credit to the basement at Carey Street. I was imagining and creating and in that world.
Now, you and I both attended and survived film school, okay? And you graduated from the elite NYU, which is no small feat, so congratulations. How many Black women were in your cohort?
There was only one other Black woman in my class, and we were prior to me, there were 3 other Black women. They were all the same year. There weren't many of us there whatsoever, let alone people of color. Our class was the most diverse. We had someone from Pakistan, someone from India, somebody whose parents were Palestinian and Irish, and folks all across the U.S. from England. So it was a very diverse cohort, but even still within that, there were only 2 Black women. I was a director, and my other cohort, who's become a really close friend, she was a cinematographer.
I definitely can relate to being one, like the only one sometimes in a class. So coming from Dillard University, which is an HBCU, was it challenging to distinguish when you received critiques that were offered because there might have been a real problem with your story versus it was offered because they were unfamiliar with your culture?
I think it was a combination of both. I think there's certain vernacular and language that we use. There's certain stories that we may tell, or I'll just speak to a particular story in my first film, and I'm trying to remember what the professor said, but they really didn't get it. And a lot of my professors were Eastern European, so they had a particular sense and sensibility of not just things visually, but also story, and as it relates to Black culture. And a lot of my stories all had predominantly Black casts. They all featured a Black protagonist and antagonist. Very seldom was it, were there anybody other than Black in my film, and if they were, their parts were very small. So I think there was a certain guard or defensiveness that I can't say I'm proud of, but I think it was also a reaction to having to explain and justify why your story made sense, why your story was a story, and why Black people, yes, we do that. We do feel that. We do experience that. And it may not be how you might respond to that said incident, but this is how we respond to that circumstance. And the other thing is, at the end of the year, we had to go before all of the departments, everyone in the grad film, and we had to show our film, and we had to sit and listen to them critique our film.
I'm glad that you shared that because I came from, of course, a predominantly white institution undergrad, and I did theater. And what I found there is that professors, and then when the professor said it, the students would say, "Oh, that's wrong." And I'm like, hold on, how you going to tell me what's wrong? And I see people who are like billionaires because they followed this particular trajectory. And so when I did get to graduate school, like you said, I did come with the knowledge that sometimes are they critiquing me because maybe there's a story problem or they're not aware. So it's a fine line, and it's a dance that you have to learn choreography to, you know?
Exactly. And I remember my last time I was presenting a film, there was a black professor. There's like only one other person, and he was a sound person, and he would, actually, no, I didn't even have him, I had somebody else, and he was gone the next year. And I remember seeing this one professor, I was like, where have you been? Like, where have you been? And she was like, I just got here. So it was this kind of like, oh, that was a comforting experience.
So there's this scene in the first episode of Making Black America Through the Grapevine where the group talks about Black love. And the segment concludes with a beautiful love poem by Pierre Delcourt written in the 1800s. And immediately afterwards, there's a montage of Black couples through film history embracing one another. You produced and directed that series. Can you share the creative process behind that heartfelt moment?
I share the directing with my colleague Shayla Harris, which I have to acknowledge because we split the episodes. So I did 1 and 2, and she did 3 and 4. And that when Henry Louis Gates, Skip, which I'll refer to him as, talked about doing the project, he's like, I want to do something on social networks. And we're like, okay, what does that mean? That's just like, Black people and social networks. So the challenge as a series producer was really finding out, okay, what does that mean? What does that look like? And on top of that, we're starting at the beginning of time. We're starting in the 1600s with the Prince Halmations, going up into present day with, I think Juneteenth was now just becoming like a national holiday by the time we had finished the film. And for that particular moment, I think I was just excited to first of all, that poem itself, and the earliest written poems of that time, written by someone who is Black, written about something that, believe it or not, Black people do, which is love each other, love one another. For me, just, what did that look like? So many times when you see films, there are many love stories, and I wanted to highlight the love stories that featured us, showed how we loved each other, just a whole beautiful kissing montage, because those are like classic moments, and we all, Love Jones, we all remember that one, underneath the bridge, so Nia Long couldn't get her hair wet, Or, it goes on and on. Just really finding those nuances, and that was the key thing, is finding nuances that speak to that moment and the visual that will marry with whatever is being said in the room, in this case with Skip and the other guests, or with a scholar, with what they're saying. What are we imagining? What are we seeing? And what archival do we have to support what is being said?
I am so happy that clip and that piece got into that series, because it is important to show Black love, because I believe one person in the television series was saying that Black love is so revolutionary, because constantly we have so many reminders to tell us to hate ourselves, not to live this freed life. But the truth is that learning to love yourself, like when Houston said, is the greatest love of all, and then loving someone else, it's really revolutionary, and it is in a beautiful moment in that series. So
one of my favorite moments.
Mine too. The poem was so beautiful that I had to send it to my parents for their anniversary. It was like,
oh, so beautiful. Oh my gosh, that's a wonderful gift. That is so. How long have your parents been married?
40 years.
Amen.
Talk about Black love, right?
Yes. Here's Black love. 40 years and counting. I love it.
And counting. Yes. So speaking of Black love, in this industry that's filled with long hours and extensive research, how do you balance scheduling time for things and the people that you love?
I think it's a day by day task, week by week. Some weeks, some days I do better than others. Currently I'm in a very privileged position. I have 2 projects that I'm directing, one I'm co-directing, one I'm directing. So I'm very excited to be working on them. At the same time, I'm like, okay, I want to be able to find that balance to rejuvenate. One thing it's helpful is you have friends who are in the industry, so they understand when you don't have the time, and you understand when they don't have the time. Exercise is a big part, so I run and I do Pilates. So running is more like my mental sanctuary. So that helps start my day to kind of get my mind right. And just really, I have to be intentional. I mean, I've been really planning a schedule, not like I have one before, but one where I'm really like, okay, at this time. But I really just, when I mapped out my schedule, it's like I'm working all the time. So I'm trying to really be intentional. Like, you know what? You can stop working at this time and you can do whatever. You know, if you want to continue to work, fine, but if you want to just sit and just, I mean, it's the holiday season, and I do have a love for Hallmark during the holidays and Lifetime, those movies. So it's like, okay, give myself permission to do that. So I think it's being intentional and giving myself permission to do that, because I need to rejuvenate and just kind of catch my breath and just step back and see what things look like from 30,000 feet, or at least 20,000 feet, or 10,000. I'm so close to it.
Taking that mental health break is so important. Thank God for holidays, right? Because you have an excuse.
Yeah, and even careful with holidays, because holidays you can get sucked into so much there.
Food.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I exercise every day, and I have realized that in this holiday season, I have cut back a lot of my exercising time. I'm like, I gotta get back into it.
What do you do for exercise?
Well, I exercise at home, so I love dancing, but I also do some Pilates videos online. That's really helpful. I
Maybe
love
I'll share.
Pilates.
We have to share which videos we use, because there's one that I've been using regularly.
Yes, I love Pilates. And I find that it really helps like relax myself because you're breathing, actively breathing. I just think it's great.
It's amazing how you forget to breathe.
Tell me about it.
Like, I have a friend, every time I would get stressed out, she'd be like, breathe. And I'm like,
And it makes a difference.
it does. We hold our breath so many times in so many ways, you just don't even realize it.
And the funny thing about it, not to get too deep, but like when you are exercising and you remember to breathe, you realize that you have endurance to continue the exercise. And then what you were struggling in is not that hard anymore. Waiting to exhale. Like, you know?
Carrie Miller knew what she was talking about. It really, they exhaled, and we need to do that.
So, as mentioned, you have worked on projects that aired on PBS. How did you get those wonderful opportunities?
It is all about God. That's all I can really say. Just how everything kind of just came to me. Literally, my whole career, I've cut my teeth at PBS, working on projects, majority with Black executive producers or Black directors, and that is a very unique and privileged place to be. I started working with Stanley Nelson, and I had just finished, I was still working on my own doc, and I was trying to get my foot in. I was looking to do scripted and features, and I stumbled on a documentary idea, and then the rabbit hole just went there and just continued to sink my teeth in it, and worked my way from an archival PA all the way to associate producer, and then eventually on my way to producer, and in between there working on other projects of other people that had PBS. And then when it came to working on Reconstruction, I was kind of like, oh, you plan, God laughs. And I was like, I think I want to just, take a break from doing stuff that's archival or, history based. And then I got this opportunity because I wanted to direct. And then from there was the opportunity to do the Black church. And I'm like, well, another Black church, between going to my grandparents in Zanesville, Ohio, to their church, small congregation, 2-hour-plus hour-long services, which as a kid was deadly, but looking back, it's like you cherish those moments compared to the church that was an hour long that I went to with my parents, predominantly white, night and day. So I really felt that and I knew I was the best person. So it was just divine order and being like, okay, yes.
Do you have an idea for a business, but bringing it to fruition seems so overwhelming? Look no further. Embolden Consulting is a strategy and creative consulting agency that turns bold ideas into thriving ventures. When rebranding my podcast, PHAE'S Place, I needed direction and someone who gets it, who gets me. I tried Embolden Consulting and was not disappointed. The results I received showed that there was close attention to detail and gave me insight of what I needed to make my business work. You have the vision. Let Embolden Consulting help you execute the dream. Their services include strategic messaging and branding development, operational strategy, project management, and marketing campaign design. Email Jody Iyamu at emboldenconsulting.com. That's JODIIYAMU at emboldenconsulting.com to set up your consultation today. Use the code PHAE'S PLACE to receive a free consultation. So this year's Met Gala highlighted dandyism, and I loved it because I finally felt like we are the target audience. I enjoyed everything about it. And I know one of your recent projects that is now on YouTube, it's called Dress Like Kings.
Mhm.
And what I find interesting is that this documentary for you has been in the works for a long time. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I came across this interview where you discussed the idea of failing forward, and you shared that there was a time when you looked at the project almost as a failure because you encountered so many delays. And fast forward to today where it's produced, can you share how you learned how to deal with failure?
First, I had a lot of people who were always asking about the project, and that helped. I could never it could never let go. I could never get rid of it because people would always ask, so what's up with those guys that dress? What's up with those kings? How are those kings doing? And even deep inside me, there's always this sense of completion that I needed to have with the project. So even with all the failures, with all the setbacks, with all the delays, with all the discouragement, with all of the imposter syndrome stuff and self-doubt that I was battling through, there still was that mustard seed of just like, but it's still there. You got to finish it. So between that, I think I visited every once in a while. I would just pull out and just feel like, okay, they're still there. Their story needs to be told. Just kind of kept it going. And then talk about seeds and mustard seeds and seeds being placed. There was an organization that I had submitted my film to soon after I think at the very early stages when I had shot some stuff, and they had passed on it for funding. And I thought it was a perfect fit. But there was one person who worked at said organization that really felt it was a great project. And talk about waiting, and just even saying that now, I'm just asking the questions, making me even think like, yeah, it's just like your timing versus God's timing and the perfect timing. So fast forward many years later, that person is now the president of said organization. I am now able to go to them because she's remembered the project and she's been a champion and an ambassador for the project since it came to them. And they provided my finishing funds. So thank you for that, because I'm like, oh my God, yeah. So it may not, I feel like all these gospel songs are coming in my head, but it's like literally just wait,
Yes.
hurry up and wait, as they say in the industry. But also I think
Mhm.
that can even extend to us as people of faith. You don't know when the timing, when your breakthrough's gonna happen, but you just keep pressing. And even if it's a little bit, you're still moving forward. An inch, that's still moving forward.
What a word for the people of God today. Hi, friends, it's Phaedra, and you are listening to PHAE'S Place. Join us each week as we talk to industry insiders about their journey and what it takes to turn dreams into a reality. Whether you aspire to be in the entertainment field or just inspired by the hustle, count this as your backstage pass. Join us every Monday for a brand new episode. And also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at PHAE'S Place. So we're just gonna shift gears just a little bit to more of a fun question. If you could reboot any show from your childhood and direct it, which one are you reviving?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I think In Living Color would be one.
I love that.
Just like the skits, like that would be such a fun one to do. And I think if there's one that could be rebooted with the caliber that it had, I would say The Cosby Show. They're already doing A Different World, so they're
Right.
doing that. But I would say like those two shows, like I know in college we would just literally, that was like must see TV. Like you would make sure you were not being disturbed or interrupted. But both shows were just amazing.
I agree. And The Cosby Show is the reason why I went to school to study theater because of Felicia Rashad.
I
I just
love
love
it.
everything. Yes, I love everything about the Cosby Show. I'm gonna let my children watch that. That show is never going out of style in my house.
It's a part of, talk about the culture. It
The
is the
culture.
culture. And it's a reality for a lot of, there are Black families that live like that.
Yes. And what I loved about it is, like you said, they didn't pay too much attention to other races. They just showed Black people in a family.
The father's a doctor and the mother's a lawyer. I think they
Yeah.
want Cosby to be like a plumber or something like that. But it was like, he can't be a professional. I mean, not saying it, hey, kudos to plumbers, but it's like, we can do other things too.
Yes. One thing that I discovered when I was in grad school is that they always want you to be realistic in fictional television. And I'm like, if we can create anything, why can't we create Black people being doctors and lawyers? If it's not real, right? Why can't we create them to be those things? So it's funny that even as Black people, your imagination is limited when it
Mm,
comes to
mm,
storytelling.
mm. That's
Yeah.
so true. That is very true.
Yeah, I'll share this little dream that I have of a show that I would love to reboot, but I would like
Okay.
to change it. The Jeffersons.
Oh my gosh.
But instead of Mr. Jefferson, it will be the wife who has all the money, and the husband will have to be at home. And I think
Yeah.
that would be hilarious. It would be so funny. And people, she might get some bad names, but I would love to see that play out.
I love that. I would watch that. I would watch
Thank you.
that. Okay, so we put it out there. There we go.
Yes, we got to work on it now.
Start writing the pilot. Start writing the pilot.
Yes. What advice do you wish someone told you when you first started out as a filmmaker?
Trust your gut. You know
And
more
what,
than you think you know. And that's not about ego. That's not about trying to, that is gut feeling that you know, like, this doesn't seem like what people would normally do, but I feel like this is what I need to do, and this is what I need to say, this is what I need to make. Trust that inner voice.
so what are you currently dreaming up? What are your hopes to achieve?
Well, I'm currently developing a scripted series with my longtime producing partner, which is centered around HBCU Campus Queens. So we've created a podcast, Queen of the Yard, but there's also followed by, we're creating, like I said, a scripted series, and we're doing a sizzle, but now we're kind of reimagining that because media is constantly changing and people's attentions are getting shorter. We're working on that for the new year, and I have, like I said, the two projects. One is recognizing next year is the 250 anniversary of the Declaration of Independence signing. So I'm producing and directing a program that is looking at that through the lens of what Black men and women were doing in exercising equality, life, living, pursuit of happiness. So I'm dreaming up, and one on Harlem, that's the other one, but dreaming up really doing more production work through my production company, dreaming up doing more work that is documentary as well as scripted and stuff. Things that are just going to push me out of my comfort zone.
Thank you so much for coming by PHAE'S Place. You have been such a mentor to me. Every time I reach out, you're always there to answer, and I really appreciate that. So thank you.
I'm excited to see how you are thriving and expanding your territory. So always an honor.
Thank you. And you are invited to come back to PHAE'S Place anytime. Thank you all for listening. Tune in next Monday where we have a brand new episode inspired just for you. I love you all for listening. This podcast episode was recorded with Riverside.